So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, Modern Trends in Engineering Task Management. My name is Rob Romanowski, and I'm the Director of Sales Operations with 3HTI. And joining us today is one of our Applications Engineering Directors, Bill Stickney, or actually Director of Engineering, Bill Stickney. And also from Onshape, Michael LaFleche, who is actually now with PTC since PTC had recently acquired Onshape. So what we're going to look at today is how work is delegated, assigned, how comments are made, and how red lines are made both formally and informally through a release management process. And we will compare and contrast tools that are outside the typical CAD and data management realm and what those types of systems are doing specifically for task management. If you have any questions, just type those in the chat box. And we will get to them during the presentation, or we'll definitely answer them at the end during the Q&A. So how do people communicate with modern SaaS applications? And maybe you're familiar with a system like Slack or Google Documents and how you can use those online systems for a smooth interaction with colleagues for collaboration. Multiple people can use these solutions at the same time. You can see changes and updates as they're occurring. But what you may not know is that these SaaS solutions have built-in task and comment systems. So you can see here on the right-hand side, somebody made a comment from Michael, or Michael made a comment. And then also you can make highlights here on the live, online, in the cloud. You can also, this will be tracked. You can assign people to tasks or tasks to get done, and you can use this as a communications tool. And my next slide. So what about engineering applications? Because solutions like Slack and Google Docs, they have task management and comment capabilities, but engineering applications do, and there are certain things you can do in most CAD systems, like you can add comments on certain features, you can use a viewer application, e-drawings, you can make comments there, but normally it's a separate file, and you need to set it up or go through a process in order for it to synchronize, which is not always an easy thing to do, and it's not always consistent. So what people end up doing is they start printing something out, taking a Sharpie and then marking it up. They'll mark up a print, they'll mark up a PDF file, maybe they create a PDF file, mark that up, or they'll use a viewer with markup capabilities. But using that kind of technology is kind of like old technology compared to these modern applications. It's almost like driving a car where you have to hand roll up the window, which is fine if it's on the driver's side, but what if it's on the passenger side and you're driving down the highway and your air conditioner goes out? So anyway, maybe not a good or bad analogy, but because Onshape is a SaaS product development platform, this is truly 100% CAD and product data management in the cloud. It's a completely different system that the inventors and founders of SolidWorks, in their progression of CAD, decided that they couldn't take SolidWorks into the cloud. They had to create something new and different because of the platform that it runs on, the Atlas platform. So because this is completely new and different, everything is centrally hosted. And what this does is it allows you to get to work and get into the program faster because there's no software to download. It has enhanced security because people are not trading files back and forth. They can go into a central location where all this data resides. They have secure access with access rights and permissions and role-based access controls. So you have your security in that respect, and then there's better collaboration and efficiency for being able to work in a true parallel workflow. So how does this look? What does this task management look like? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pass everything over to, or actually I'm going to let Bill Stickney take over, and he's going to give us a demo on what task management looks like in Onshape. Bill, you have the con.
Okay, good morning. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Good. Let me talk about a little history here on how things have traditionally been done in the engineering business. It was common, and it's still in practice sometimes, to work essentially in a paper system where we are making two-dimensional drawings on pieces of paper and shuffling them around the office. And if we're doing it right, we're also putting them in a file folder somewhere so everything is all together, although that's hard to enforce. So when changes are needed, the practice, which is still in practice because I was doing it a year ago at an aerospace company, is called redlining. And that's when you take a paper drawing and you draw notes on it using a pen or a marker or something. This was sometimes referred to as bleeding on the drawings, and the fatter the marker, the nastier the boss seemed to be, or whoever was checking it. But the advantage of this is that it's simple to learn because everybody knows how to draw circles and arrows and how to write. Whether they're good at actually drawing pictures is not clear anymore, but they used to be. So this works if you're in a paper environment and everybody's all in the same room at the same time. However, that is not typically the way things are done anymore. So it is maybe necessary to send this information to other people. Now, 20 years ago, the way you did that was with a fax machine. So now your red line would look something like this. And I've worked with these things many, many times. They're very frustrating. Not a very good solution. It's still possible for these papers to get misplaced, and if you have now two files in two locations, you're going to have some problems losing information. So it's not ideal. A way to fix that, of course, is to go into a computer application where people are storing things in the same location, more or less. And one of the important principles of computer software is that every piece of information should get stored in exactly one place. But with traditional CAD systems, going back again 20 years or more ago, that was not true because these were memory resident systems and you had to store things in local files, and then managing the files gets to be a problem, which is why people use database managers, which do work, but they're costly, a lot of overhead involved. And it's still possible for people to get their hands on obsolete data and manufacture to it, and it's very embarrassing when that happens. So one of the tools that the industry came up with was virtual redlining, where you would distribute your model or drawing to a consumer who would have a viewing program. And this would be, well, in SolidWorks world, it would be eDrawings. PTC Pro Engineer had one called, it's now called Creo Viewer. And it's a decent program. You can bring in a three-dimensional object, and you can go in, and if you know how to use the tools, you can create red lines. But it costs something to put in a tool like that. It has to be maintained, and you have to train the users because there's a bunch of functions that are not intuitive, and they've got to learn how to draw red lines in this viewing application. So what Onshape has done is they have eliminated the file structure, and now they are making all the computer scientists very happy because everything really is stored in one location. Being cloud-based, there's only one copy. And by the way, it's a very secure copy. So the advantage here is you aren't working on copies of anything. You're working on the original all the time. Now, one of the things with engineering is that if you are communicating with a colleague and wanting to do a change, you can give them instructions on how to do the change, or you could just sit there in session and just do it, which I think might be better. So I have a session set up here. I have an owner of this part, which is me, And I have a colleague over here who I have named Dan Drafter, who is going to be responsible for making changes on this thing. But I need to tell him what to do. So what we're going to do is open up in the same session, and this is in fact the same part, and we're going to have Dan make a change. Now, first off, just to show you that this works, I'm going to take the datum planes here and hide them, and you will note that they're hiding in both copies. This could be on a different machine elsewhere, and in fact doesn't even have to be the same type of machine. I'm on a Windows machine here, but this could be on a Mac or a tablet or even a phone, really. We'll run on anything with a browser, basically. So what I'm going to do here is zoom in and say, all right, this little hole here has to go. So Dan has been instructed to get rid of the hole, so he's going to go in here, and this is actually a direct operation. We're going to delete a face, and we have a neat selection tool for doing this. You can create selection, and we have some rule-based selections in here. For example, I can select the hole, and that will also get all the chamfers and whatever else is in there. So we'll add that selection. I could have just picked those one by one. That would work too. So there my face is gone. And then you'll notice over here in the master copy, it's gone also. And if I were to make a change up here, and let me change the depth of this little recess here. I guess that's for an O-ring or something. We're going to change its depth. Same idea. I'm going to move a face in this case. So we'll click on this guy and move him probably in the other direction. We'll make it a little deeper, but probably not that much. All right, so there's a change that I have made now, and it pops over, and it is changed over here. So if we can do changes like that, you got to wonder if it's really necessary to even have all this instructions back and forth and separation of duties. But it turns out there's a pretty good tool for this. So let me show you an example. We have a comment system. So I'm going to open up my comment window here. And I'm going to zoom in on this location right here. And I'm going to put a comment in that says O-ring pocket needs to be deeper, and we'll put in a dimension here so they'll know what it is. And interestingly, I can point this out in the other tool, on the other window rather. So if I click on this guy right here, it tags an entity, and I could pick this surface, for example, and then I think we're good here. So we'll add that to the comment list. And over here on the other side, you'll see the comment pops right up, and it shows the instruction that I gave him. And it also tags the surface. You see that little symbol there as a tag, and if I click on this, I think it'll pop me right into the same view, and it does. So that's pretty cool. Now, what I could do here is close this for now. Of course, you might have quite a list of comments from different projects, and if you open this up, there'll be a whole list of them in here. So I could now, on this side, do my move operation again, which is this. Move face. Bear in mind, Onshape is in fact a fully parametric modeler. I'm just happening to use direct modeling techniques for this demonstration, but it's got a model tree and all the good stuff, and very capable modeler. So you see now we have accomplished the change. So I made a change on my side, it showed up over here, and I made a change over here, and it showed up on my side, because it's the same side. This is not a copy. This is one object, and I got two guys working on it at the same time. And we have a way of communicating back and forth. I mean, we could just get on the phone and talk, but the advantage you use in the comment window is that these things are persistent. They will stay in the document, which in this case is the product container, and they'll stay there forever. So if I want to go back years from now and figure out how changes were made and why they were made and what discussion was had, if it was done this way, it's there, and we can go back and search it. If you are talking on the phone, you have no record. If you're talking in person, you have no record either, unless somebody takes notes. But the worst of all is using email, because the emails do not go into PLM systems very well. So you have these gaping, missing information in your records, and that can come back to haunt you, especially if you get sued for product liability and have to go into court and explain this stuff. It's very embarrassing. So this is a really good tool, and if you use it consistently, you will have records of everything that was done, and it's very easy to pass this information back and forth. Now, I'll show you another trick you can do here, because sometimes it is a good idea to give a little more detail in what I did in this note. So what I'm going to do is actually a redlining exercise. If you absolutely insist that you have to do redlining, we can. But you don't have to learn anything new. So this here is a tool that is built into Windows. This is a snipping tool, and most operating systems have something like this. It's not the only one you can use, certainly. So I'm going to make a little piece of my image here and put annotations on it. So we'll do a snip. We'll grab a section right here. And now I can go into an annotation, and I could, for example, circle this thing. And I think you can add text in here also. Not going to take time to do that. Point here is, though, that I have an annotated view. And then we will save this out. And I'll just put this on my desktop for now. So we'll call this Capture 2 or something like that. This is just temporary storage because I'm going to put it into the note. All right, so we got that. And now, I didn't have to learn anything new there, by the way. There was no training involved in that, so I already knew how to use that tool. So now we go to our comment system. I'm going to make a new comment. And in this case, we're going to attach the image. So we'll go out here and browse, and let's see, that was on desktop, and it was called comment 2. Might be good to make a little buffer for these somewhere, actually. So I have now attached a comment, or attached an image, and I think I will also take advantage of this, and we'll grab maybe that edge right there, and we will say make this whole 0.75 or something like that. All right, and then we'll add that to the comment list. And that should pop up over on the other side here. And there it is. It puts us right into the right location. It shows the image and it shows the redlining. So if you absolutely insist you have to do redlining, we got a way of doing it that's easy, straightforward, and it stays in the record, and we can go back and look at it later if we need to. So that's kind of how the comment system works. Works both ways, of course. I could add a comment from this side and have it show up over here. And you can have, of course, multiple users working on the same project. They do not have to be on at the same time. I can add comments and have somebody look at them tomorrow. So we just keep a running commentary of what's going on with the design, and we can go back and figure it out. But either user can make the changes if you are willing to authorize that. So in a lot of cases, it might take me less time to just make the change than it would to do some kind of a red line like this. So advantage here is it's quite easy to modify these models. And if you do it once, you do it everywhere. The only problem is you got to make sure other people know you did it, and that's why the comments are very useful. So that's the comment system. That's how we communicate in Onshape. Now, there is another aspect to Onshape I want to talk about. I don't have enough time to do a demonstration of this, but we have a pretty good tool in here for managing releases. And I need to find a case that has some release information. This is probably good here. And let me go back to the main assembly. We can see what this thing is. It's an electric coffee grinder, I guess an espresso maker or something like that. But you'll notice there's little flags in here, these little triangles. These are indicators that there have been releases. So some of these parts may have been released and some not. And you can see pretty quickly what's happened here. But very importantly, we have a plot in here showing the versioning and release history on this. This is one of the powerful tools of Onshape is that you can, first off, author versions. We have version 1, version 2, version 3 here. And there were changes made in between here. And by the way, I can show you what they are. If I open this up, it goes into very great detail on exactly what was done, almost down to button clicks. So I can go back and trace through and figure out what was done on those if I need to. Or we could release an ECN, and I'm not sure that's working right now, but it is possible.
Yeah, Bill, you can just right click on that and it will show you everything that happened in that release. So you see the releases and obsolescence
right here.
Yeah, exactly. Just go in and go back to the other page, the previous page you were on.
Okay, which was the
middle tab in your Chrome browser.
Oh, this one.
Yeah,
I see
exactly.
What you mean. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because the Onshape opened up a separate window there. But if you right click on this, it will actually show you who was part of that release, what was going on, you know, all the activities that were happening. So if you just right click there, go to releases, and you can select, you know, ECO 1692A. Or any one of them, doesn't matter.
Pick that one.
Yeah, there you go. So this shows you exactly what happened at that particular ECO, what was involved, what the part numbers were at that time, what revisions were going from what to what. So it's, and you can see the release notes right there, drawing package released, and there's even a comment history there where you can click on that little hyperlink and it will give you any more information about it. It will even show you the workflow. If you click the upper right-hand corner where it says view workflow, it shows you what workflow it went and what the current state of this workflow is, which is obviously released. So it's really powerful.
Very orderly system, I should say.
Yeah.
A lot better than wads of paper floating around the office.
Exactly.
Which is how we used to do things. In any case, these little triangles here are indicating various release states. The circle, I think, means a pending action, and or the one with the dot.
It's actually, yeah, the pyramid with the moon above it is an obsolescence.
Oh, that's an obsolescence. That's right.
Yeah. And then the other one is a release. And if it's open, that means it's pending.
Open is pending. Oh, it tells us right here.
Exactly.
You should just read the legend. That would be easier. All right. The other thing that's cool about this, of course, is branching, where we can take a a version of this and go off and do something, perhaps as an experiment or a trial to see if we like it better, and without disturbing the original. Now that's a little harder to do in some of the older CAD systems, although Creo now has design exploration that does similar things to this, but this is quite up to date and very useful. 'Cause a lot of times you get started on a change and you get halfway through it and say, you know what, we were better off before. So we can go back and we can take one of these older versions and promote it up to the main version, which is that guy, and recover from a bad idea. So just this branching alone is extremely valuable. So keeping track of all this stuff is very useful. You're not hiding anything. You're not going to lose anything. And we don't have to all be in the same location. You know, if you can all go to the same office every day, you're good. But I don't know too many people that are doing that right now with everybody working from home. And I think the trend is likely to continue even after the virus problem is hopefully gone away. So I think this kind of remote work is probably going to continue, and the fact that we have a central depository for this information is extremely valuable. This is, one could argue that this is how CAD should have been done right from the beginning, but the hardware was not remotely powerful enough in the old days, 30 years ago. So we went to this file-based system as an adaptation, not that it was a good idea, it was the only way to do it. So this is definitely a better mousetrap, and I think this is the way to go in the future for anybody that needs to work remotely. Or another interesting point here is that we can take a design like this and do a share, and we could send this send a link to a vendor who can now open up the original model, not a copy, but the same model. And they could be given, for example, read-only privilege, where they could look at this thing and take measurements off it using the measurement tool down here, which is very simple to use, without having to install a viewer on their system. They can run it on almost anything, Macs, tablets, you name it. And they do not need a special, powerful workstation to access this information. Doesn't hurt, but it's not necessary. You can run it on most typical computers. So it's a pretty cool system as far as sharing information. And the beauty of it is the security. You're not going to lose anything because it's Amazon Cloud, and they do a good job with security, better than most companies do. And you're also not going to have guys working on a wrong version of things because of this release system. We can be very specific about what you're allowed to look at and what you're going to work on. So this is great for vendors and customers too. If you're doing custom engineering for somebody, you can share this with them, and they don't have to be a high-end CAD user, and they don't have to have a copy of the software. You just have to give them permission, and you're good. So that's what I can show you about engineering communication today. I think this is really neat stuff. And
well, you also made a good comment earlier about hardware. When you said this is the way that CAD should have been from the beginning, but they didn't have the hardware. The hardware wasn't available to make it that way. Hardware doesn't matter with this. I mean, that's another point about Onshape that's pretty cool, is that with any type of software that you download for CAD, you have to have hardware requirements. You have to have, certain amount of memory, RAM. You need to have certain graphics cards to be able to run the programs. With this, you don't need any of it. I mean, you can work on this from your iPhone, as I've seen Michael do. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the idea of doing CAD on an iPhone seems peculiar, but if you're traveling somewhere and it's not, you're trying to look at something and not do anything too complicated, it makes sense. That's the good news. The bad news is I could be out fly fishing and my phone could ring with work. That's happened to me. I find it very irritating. But you can always turn the thing off or just go down in a hole that's so deep you can't get a signal. That's what I usually do.
We have a great customer story of a customer that has a mine that's about half a mile down, and it's the only CAD system that works at the bottom of the mine is Onshape.
Yeah, if you got Wi-Fi down there, he's in business.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't just need a network, and you don't need a particularly powerful network connection because the graphics manipulation is all being done in the browser. So it's using whatever graphics you got, and it does not need anything out of the ordinary by today's standards. So any computer you've bought in the last, 5 or 8 years is probably fine. So that's what I can show you on communications. Any questions?
We do not have any questions in the chat box. So
Hey,
I guess what we'll do is we'll just we'll end the webinar here. If anybody who's for all of you who are watching today, if you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@3hti.com, and or you could call us at 1-888-624-3HTI on your from a phone. So send us an email, give us a call. We'd be more than happy to give you more of a custom demo on Onshape for what you need to accomplish. So Bill, thank you very much. And Michael, thank you as well. And that's going to end our webinar today. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.